someday.
78 years old. Well, I can't say that anymore because I just had a birthday, so I am now officially 79, which means, interestingly enough, I am in my 80th year on this planet. And today, we've been experimenting a little bit with guitar. I'm a long-time guitarist, and going to spend some time lending some guitar playing ideas and explaining my system of how I approach the guitar and learning it. But today, I want to get back to the old, this YouTube channel, of course, is called Atheist, a Bird with No Cage, and I wish to get back to that a little bit. On my most recent Coffee Klatch, which happens on Tuesday mornings, I had a discussion with, as I've mentioned before on these videos, one of my friends is a pastor. He's an evangelical, I guess, born-again type pastor. So, born in the wool, Christian type. And it's kind of interesting. We've been doing these discussions that I call the Coffee Klatch for, more than a year now. And our interaction has changed quite a bit, because I remember in one of the first videos I started out, I had just met my friend Ron, and the pastor, and I was discussing with him the fact that we were together to discuss religion. It was designed to discuss that. I'm an atheist, and he's a dyed-in-the-wool Christian. Dyed-in-the-wool, no pun intended, that he's the pastor and everybody that the followers are sheep. Okay. And one of the first conversations we had was, I said, I think that it will be interesting and difficult for us to have conversations, because here I am, myself, an atheist, and I've spent quite a bit of time investigating my beliefs or lack of belief, understanding especially the Christian religion, and reading the Bible, and he, on the other hand, again, seems like a reasonably intelligent person, at least as intelligent as I am, and whatever that means. But my problem was, perceived problem was, how do two people discuss issues while I think I'm a rational thinker. I believe in the scientific method. I'm a skeptic, humanist, and all that. And meanwhile, he is a dyed-in-the-wool believer. Basically, at that point at least, he was a literalist, a Bible-believing literalist. So here I am, and I pointed out, I go, like you believe, and he agreed, in a literal interpretation of the Bible. So in Genesis, for example, God made Adam out of some dirt, earth, whatever, and then he made Eve, God made Eve out of a bone, out of Adam's body, a rib bone, And for me, that's totally irrational and just doesn't make sense. So I'm wondering, how are we going to, fit those two very different headspaces together to have some reasonable discussions. And for the most part, it's worked out, although I think that both he and I have changed. Because we started out with, my attitude was, those kinds of ideas are simply irrational and not clear thinking, believing that kind of stuff, guy walking on water and all that shit. And his attitude was pretty close to, well, since I don't believe and I'm not a Christian, I'm going to hell. And I think he believed in a literal kind of hell, at least at that point. We've had discussions of, I've asked him a lot of questions about what he thought heaven was, which was an interesting conversation. Anyway, now I think that both of us have changed, and I think he's gotten to the point where he realizes that him saying that he believes that when I die, that this deity that he believes in would send me to hell to suffer forever. The classical concept of hell, which is the worst torture that anybody can conjure up, being burned alive sort of thing. And not only that, you never get to die. You just... And my attitude was, although I don't think I ever accused him of being stupid or anything like that, but my attitude was pretty close to that it was for a seemingly educated and reasonably intelligent man to hold with those things, talking donkey and talking snake and all that, just was not sensible. So I still don't think it's sensible, but I've come to the point where I realize that he's wrong. But being wrong, one of the things I've learned is being wrong is not a big deal. And I've entertained being wrong about a couple of things myself, things that I believed quite firmly, and found out that they didn't make sense and there was evidence in another direction, so I've changed my mind. And I think that he's changed in the sense that he as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I can understand at this point, he no longer believes in this, hell as being a place with fire and brimstone and horrible suffering forever that I'm going to get sent to, supposedly. I think that he's at least softened up in that in two ways. First of all, I think that he's come to the point where he maybe no longer believes that makes sense. The hell idea, the classical hell with fire and brimstone and all that. And maybe, I'm pretty sure, he's also come to the point, we've had many conversations that most of the time we're not talking about religion. There's another member of this Copycatch group, and many times we're talking about political things that are going on, or, we're here in Mexico, and all three of us are Canadian, so we talk a lot about the Canadian situation and all that. So I'm very interested in this, how we have both changed, and I think as a result of that, our conversations are better. Last week we had a conversation, for example, that he And he asked me about, I'm not sure what exactly we're discussing, but he asked me if I thought thoughts, i.e. thinking, was material. Now, that's a little bit of a problem, but we had I think a pretty good discussion. I immediately said, yes, I do. Now, the problem with that discussion, I know this is a bit of a tangent because now I'm off on one of the discussions that we have, but I think it's important because it was difficult for me because I think he was saying, are thoughts material, meaning are thoughts made of material? And if you asked a question that way, well, the answer's probably no. But I'm approaching that question as, are thoughts real in the sense of, are thoughts part of the material world or whatever, our reality that we experience? In that case, the answer is absolutely yes. So my short answer to him was yes, I should say. And I went on to explain why I thought that. So the whole point of this video, if it has a point, is the idea that I'm finding that discussions, I mean, I watch these kinds of discussions on the internet regularly, including debates. I mean, we don't have debates really, but we discuss, we being the pastor and I and our other friend Ron, Greg, I mean, and we disagree about things, of course, but I think our conversations are a little more realistic and a little more, with both of us maybe being a little softer. I still, as an atheist, think that the stuff that he holds with, even if he backs off from this hell as being a real place with fire and brimstone to whatever, hell is just some kind of a separation from God, even if he backs off to that, I think it's batshit crazy, especially the heaven part of it. As if he says hell is just separation from God, well, I'm happy with that because that's what I got right now, according to him. I don't believe God exists. Anyway, the whole point of this conversation, I hope it's happening generally, that the kind of conversations I'm talking about are generally improving, that atheists are realizing, yes, I think you're wrong, Mr. Theist or Miss Theist, but I'm not claiming that you're stupid or ignorant or any of that. I just think you're wrong. I think you're mistaken. And if that's still maybe a little tough for somebody to swallow, but the point is, he obviously thinks I'm wrong too. So I just think it's really important that, for me personally, that this conversation that I have regularly is more human, more humanistic, understanding of how the other person got to believe what they believe. And I also think that generally in the ongoing conversations on the internet, especially on the internet where many of us live and spend a hell of a lot of time, that I would like to see them be a little bit more understanding. I don't think we have to, I'm not expecting him to throw out his beliefs, and I'm hoping he's not expecting me to start believing in the magic guy in the sky or whatever, however he would describe that. But I would like to discuss, really work on having productive discussions, and based on especially sticking to the topic, discussing the doctrine. As long as we keep doing that, discuss, the doctrine. You believe in the Bible? Okay, let's discuss the Bible. You believe in what the Bible teaches? I don't. Let's discuss that. So we're discussing ideas, and then we don't get into this pitfall of going, of him saying, yeah, you're going to hell, or me saying, you're absolutely an idiot. Not that I ever would say that anyway, but so the conversation is a little more productive, and maybe both of us can learn some things from the conversations. Okay, I do have if you're watching this, please comment. We are going to, when this is edited, you should see an email address here where you can send me comments about videos, what I think, disagree or agree, and please do that. And that's all for today.
Tearing my fear